Hi, I'm Mark Camoccio from Mart TV, and we're going to show you just a sort of basic piece on scope mounts. Obviously, if you're new to the game, it can be, I should imagine, very confusing. There's so many different variations on the market, and so much kit you can choose from now that you can be well and truly confused, and rightly so. But there's a few basics. I mean, if we start with the absolute basics, depends on your gun as to what sort of rail you've got on the actual scope. And if you have on the gun, if it's got a what they call a Picatinny rail, where you actually need to lock in, then you've got this sort of thing where you've got the compensating bar, and that's that actual profile to the base. So if you've got Picatinny rails, you're going to need Picatinny style mounts as a basic. Otherwise, you'd go to just conventional dovetail with air guns. It's sort of, they talk about 9 to 11 mil on most of them. Things like day state might be slightly non-standard, but all these are designed to fit sort of at most standard airgun rails. So yeah, decide on whether you've got a dovetail or the Picatinny style weaver clamping. Now, the other basic thing really is, if you're using a PCP, pre-charged pneumatic, you've got little to no, as good as no recoil. So you can get away with the conventional split ring mounts. So you literally have the two mounts set on the gun, and there's no recoil to worry about, so they're not going anywhere. And with these, you'll obviously you'll clamp these onto the dovetails, and that'll be it. Now, again, I'll just mention the basic. If you had a spring-powered rifle, most springers, you'll want a one-piece mount. So you see, you've got your two rings joined on one continuous base, and the idea of that is you've got all that pressure area that's clamping onto the clamp. So most of the time, that will eliminate scope creep, so the actual whole mount and scope can't move backwards. So yeah, if you've got a springer, I'd always recommend using a one-piece mount. There is a way around it. If you didn't do that, you can put a small little arrestor block. You could use twin ring mounts, say, on your mount, and then put an arrestor block behind it. So there are ways around it, but if you've almost certainly got room on the rail, on a spring gun, use a one-piece mount. Now, the other thing with these, there's different size rings, and you notice in there, that's a conventional, that's sort of an inch for a 1-inch tube scope. So your scope would be specified as by the 1 inch. It can be 30 mil as well. That's another common size. So you'd look to there. You can see there, you've got a much bigger. Sorry, that's the wrong size actually. That's 30 mil compared to a 1-inch tube. You can see the difference. So obviously you buy corresponding mounts to suit your scope body size. So again, you're just making sure you've got the right kit there. Now, sort of moving on to that, I mean, again, field target wise, you've got now some outsized 34mm scopes, and you can see you've got now specialist mounts. Most of these are from Sports Match, actually, very high quality brand. And that's for a 34mm body tube on the scope. So all these specialist bits of kit are out there to cope with your setup. Now, obviously, again, another thing would be the height of the scope. So if you've got a very large sort of 50mm objective bell on your scope, quite a sizable scope, if you imagine that's going to be where your body of the gun is, these are actually low mounts, so these would be too low for a very certain size of scope. So they actually make these in all different sizes. So these are specified. This would be a 1-inch tube, specified as low, but then you can go up to a medium size. And you can see the bottom base is already getting taller. So that's some sort of medium size mount, and then you can go to high mounts, and you'll see the difference there. So these will actually be able to cope with, say, that large bell, that sort of 50mm scope. So you've got, again, buy the corresponding tube that you need for your gun, and a decent gun shop will let you sort of will guide you through that and make sure that it actually fits your setup. It is worth mentioning that inside a lot of scopes, the sort of cheaper versions, you've got there aren't any in this, but you get sort of sticky pads. I really wouldn't recommend them. I'd completely avoid those, because all it does is put gum and glue all over your scope. Obviously, they think the idea is that it's sold as if it's going to pad your scope up. I've been mounting scopes for all my life, 30 odd years, since I've had an air gun, and I've never used padded scope mounts. You don't need it. Do it all properly. Do it all carefully. You very rarely put any mark at all on a scope body, and the gumminess just gets in the way. So you don't need any of that. So that's the height of the scopes that we've dealt with. Now, the next thing is you can come on to adjustment. Now, we'll cover zeroing a scope in a separate video, but you can get adjustable mounts. And here's a set here. So you've got the Picatinny style mount base on this, as we mentioned. You've got a 30mm body tube on there. Again, you'll get all these different specifications in all different combinations. And you can see here, the base is actually in two sections, and then you've got adjustment on the side and in the front there. So literally that is adjustable for height and sideways as well. So you can actually, what they call centering the scope, you can virtually zero the scope just by using the mounts, and then do the fine tweaking at the end. So you've got all sorts of adjustable mounts, and again, those adjustments, you can get adjustable mounts. Where are we? So you've got a one-piece mount here. So again, you'd put this on a say a spring-powered model. Then you've got a one-piece arrangement, but you've also got, as you see, this one's from Sports Match again. It's their fully adjustable mount, so you can actually adjust for your windage and elevation just by using the mount base. Yeah, clever stuff. And you'll pay a bit more for these, obviously, but if it's a sort of belts and braces system, and quite popular with competition shooters. So yeah, you've got a lot of options there. Now the last bit to sort of mention here is if you run into problems, and that's where you might have the old problem with a few springers used to be barrel droop, they talk about, and you can use a compensating mount such as this. So if you look at the depth there of the ring above the base, and then the depth there of the other end, and it's far higher at the other end. So what you do is you set that up, and that would effectively be giving you a built-in angle on your gun, the scope against the gun, and that will allow you to zero. So if you suddenly run out of adjustment on the scope, you can buy things like this which will allow you to zero. Again, we covered this in a separate one, but you've got this rather superb adjustable, this is a conus adjustable mount, again height and length, and as you can see there, you've got a base there. You can set that up on the gun, have the scope reaching forward, or have it the other way around. There's all ways around the problem. So again, you've got a reach forward mount, you can see there, turn it either way. Sports Match do that in also ring mounts, so you've got reach forward or back ring mounts. And again, they get you out of problems. So if you've got an awkward gun, you're having trouble zeroing, there's all sorts of combinations of specialist mounts out there. So yeah, hope that helps, but have a word with your gun shop and they'll be able to help as well. Thanks very much indeed to Range and Country Shooting Sports based in Sleaford for the loan of the kit here. They're the only premier day state dealer in Lincolnshire apparently, but yeah, much appreciated.